She's 17, pro shipper.
Like, stacked up in a trench coat?
There is no way I'm getting into actual drama over a video about fucking Dandy's World. The one time I decide to cover something more lighthearted and low stakes. Kill me! So yeah, we're gonna be talking about this video again. Why? Well, you see, when Prototype Posting here was born, he happened to immediately get dropped on the head. So, fast forward, I assume maybe 16 to 20 years later, I don't know how old this guy is, okay, I'm just assuming, and he decides to make a video about why Dandy's World is a bad game. Now, obviously, a bad video on Dandy's World isn't worthy of the harsh tone I'm using at the moment. However, that's not why I'm pointing out his, while not technically confirmed, definitely obvious infanthood injury. Now, he decided to respond, which is not an issue on its own. If I can make a response commentary to him, he has every right to make one back. That's how commentary works. However, my issue is how he decided to go about covering it. Not only is the video itself fucking ridiculous in most of its points, but the title is Responding to My Dumbest Hater, who's also a pro shipper. He also commented on the video saying, "She's 17, pro shipper." He also made a community post calling me a pro shipper. Do you see where I'm going with this? Yeah, fuck off with that bullshit Prototype. I wasn't a hater until you began using fallacious tactics to discredit me in ways that are entirely irrelevant to the point of the video. Anyway, this video is going to have a counter called the Anonymous My Ass counter. What does that mean and why is it here? Well, he stated in the community post he made that he's going to be keeping me anonymous. Let's see how well he does at that. Wait, why are there already 3 points here?
Okay, so basically he gets 1 for his comment, because commenting on the video you're going to cover isn't exactly keeping them anonymous. He gets 1 for his comment on your community post because, well, ditto, and 1 for his thumbnail, because he very obviously traced your entire video's thumbnail.
Wait, we can give points to things that aren't in the actual video?
Who fucking cares?
You really are just me from another universe. Now, let's become suicidal together by watching this video.
Yeah, sorry, I just control the counter. I can't really watch the video with you.
Oh, fuck you. Whatever, let's just start this. No, I didn't. I made a response commentary. Criticism isn't the same as hate, fuckwad. This video that you're currently watching is more like a hate video because you've already shown me that you're willing to be incredibly dishonest in even the slightest disagreements, poisoning the well and misrepresenting the video you're covering. So don't be surprised when I act like kind of an asshole, because you deserve every fucking ounce of it. Oh yeah, by the way, this video has basically no audible interjections. It's almost entirely just text. Kill me. I'll be reading it all over with a voice changer from here on out.
It's pretty bad. Random shit in their intro, like 1 minute of unrelated shit.
I've done, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 videos with Ena? Well, time to change again. That's right, boys, we're going GER mode. Oh wow, very fucking slick. Nobody's gonna know what this avatar represents, idiot. Also allowing me to name drop 2 different avatars I've used despite you taking the time to edit out my avatars. Idiot. You're already being kind of a fucking coward for keeping me anonymous, but what's even worse is when you try to be a coward, but you're so shit at everything you do that you can't even do that right. This is embarrassing! What the fuck was even the point of trying to keep me anonymous in the first place? Trying to avoid me getting harassed? Well, guess what? I've been getting harassed by dumb fucks on the internet since I was like 13. I can handle it. And if you make a video criticizing someone and people decide to go harass that person, that's not your fault. The only reason it would be your fault is because you essentially implied multiple times, not only outside of this video, but also in the video itself, you'll be seeing that later, that I'm a pedophile. But if you were normal and didn't do that, you would have no issue. Anyway, to address what he actually says on screen, okay, then why did you play the clip? Also, from the very beginning of the video to the part you skip to is 25 seconds, not even close to a minute. You're lying about the tiniest fucking things right now. That really doesn't give me much hope for how honest you're gonna be in the rest of this video. Also, why the fuck did you add incredibly obnoxious background music to a video that already had background music? I've done, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 videos with Ena? Well, time to change again. That's right, boys, we're going girl mode. Okay, but seriously, today's commentary is about a video made by Prototype posting on the subject of Dandy's World and why it's apparently a poorly made game. I am not exactly a fan of this video, but me being a Dandy's World fan isn't the reason for that. Well, at least it isn't the only reason. What makes me hate this video is the fact that I know literally anything about Dandy's World. What I'm saying is that this video gets a lot wrong. You having experience playing the game doesn't actually mean you understand the game and its mechanics enough to talk informatively about the topic. Here's my stats. Notice how most of them are much higher than yours, and I have many more tunes than you. So by your dumbass logic, I'm right, you're wrong, video over, roll credits.
For those of you that don't know, Dandy's World is a stealth survival roguelike made in the Roblox game engine. It's kind of infamous for having a pretty weird fandom of exclusively 12-year-olds and adults who have way too much free time.
AKA basically every Roblox fandom ever, or any mascot horror inspired fandom ever. Seriously, I don't get why the Dandy's World fandom is so infamous. Well, it has Rule 34. You mean the rule that specifically says that everything online that exists will get porn of it? No fucking way.
Immediately going off topic.
You spelled immediately wrong. Anyway, I went off topic in that singular introjection to give my own 2 cents on the Dandy's World fandom's infamy. I even clarify in a second in the clip you play that this introjection wasn't really trying to debunk you in particular. God forbid I take a millisecond to go slightly off topic. Well, it has pro shippers.
I literally never said anything about pro shipping.
I never said you did. I was quickly addressing counter-arguments other people have brought up. Again, I quite literally clarified this in this introjection later on. So does every fandom, plus half of them are rage baiting. Map Shelly isn't a real issue, it's just engagement bait. Oh, so you can show the thumbnail of the most popular video on my fucking channel, which includes a hand-drawn thumbnail in my art style, but you can't show my avatar, which was not drawn by me and is in no way personalized to me, because you want to keep me anonymous. You know what? Sure, this makes total logical sense. Also, my opinions on pro shipping are apparently so subconscious that I made an entire public video on the topic, explaining my opinion in detail. That's how the subconscious works. Also, it wasn't an unintentional slip-up, it was literally written in my script, you moron. We are 90 seconds in, and he has not only essentially revealed my identity multiple times, but also doesn't even know what a Freudian slip is. This isn't as much of a response to Prototype in particular as it is to anyone who's complained about the Dandy's World fandom because it's gross and toxic.
Why are you talking about it then, bro?
Because it's my video and I felt like it. If you have an actual issue with it, I expect you to at least come up with a reason why it's an issue. But you seem to be lacking in the argument department, aren't you? He's not technically wrong by saying that the fandom is infamous, because it is. I just think that the reasons why it is considered infamous is kind of fucking ridiculous.
The reason it's so infamous is due to, intentionally or unintentionally, taking aspects of the gacha community, primarily Cookie Run, which Quell admits to liking and can be seen with the massive roster of characters who get paired around constantly.
Can I see any evidence of Quell openly enjoying Cookie Run? No, you can't use that screenshot from your last video. That just proves she was playing it one time, not that she's actually a fan of it. Also, if by paired around together you mean shipping, that literally just proves my point further. Almost every popular fandom has non-canon shipping. The Amazing Digital Circus, Forsaken, Has-Been Hotel, My Hero Academia, Danganronpa. Do I need to keep going?
I'm probably going to have to explain the gameplay loop now, since most well-adjusted adults have better things to do than play Roblox all day. So this game is a floor-based roguelike, kind of like a mix of The Binding of Isaac and Repo with its formatting. You team up with up to 8 people and go through each floor completing generators.
You actually fill machines with Ica, not complete generators. Yes, I know I'm nitpicking, but come on. If you can't even explain the basic gameplay loop without fucking up, how am I supposed to trust you to explain in detail why this game is poorly made? Spoiler alert, you can't. Oh, so what you're saying is, I'm correct and you're coping about it. Because that's what this means. I said something totally and completely correct, and you decide instead of acknowledging that you made a wording mistake, you need to get mad at me for being correct? Actual brainless behavior. It's so anti-intellectual in nature.
I'm going to start out with the biggest issue with this game, that being distracting. The characters each have a spread of 5 stats: skill check, stamina, speed, stealth, and extraction speed. Each character gets 15, or 16, stat points to put into these stats. You would naturally think that 3 in all stats would be the most versatile character could be, but like, you're wrong. It is objectively better to have high speed than any other stat. You want to know why? Here's a clip of a character running around from enemies at 1-star speed. You can see they're struggling a little bit with the stamina. Now here's a clip of a character running with 5-star speed. Yeah, they aren't using any stamina because you can just walk.
I definitely do agree to some extent that speed is one of the best stats to have, but it's also important to acknowledge the usefulness of the other stats. High stamina can make lower speed tunes faster by allowing them to run for—
You spend 0 stamina when you're at high speeds.
First of all, that depends if you're sprinting or not. Okay, I might be being kind of pedantic again, but I don't care. You word this as if stamina is like not completely controlled by the player, as if it's not a button any tune can press at any time to use stamina. I assume you mean that people playing higher speed tunes don't run because they're faster, therefore using no stamina. But not only do I disagree with you on that, I mean, for God's sake, who plays Dandy's World without using the damn sprint button even if they are a high-speed tune? But it's also completely irrelevant to my point. I mentioned low-speed tunes, not high-speed tunes. This means all of jack and shit. High stealth can make speed not as important because you aren't running from twisteds as often in the first—
Positioning matters more for stealth, which speed handles.
Need I say more? High extraction speed makes you able to complete machines quicker and therefore complete floors quicker, getting to higher floors. Oh, fuck off! Those machines don't even show up until floor 5, and when they do show up, it's less likely than the 2 other machines, and I can prove this using reasonable assumption and basic math. we can generally assume that there is a lower chance that you will find a treadmill machine than you will an extraction speed machine. Not only because, well, these machines just generally appear more rarely during gameplay, even if we don't have the exact probability numbers, but also, even if there was an equal chance for all three of these machines to appear, the extraction speed machines would still be more probable considering there's two of them. Think about it, you put 2 green jelly beans in your hand and 1 red jelly bean, you shake them all together, you pick a random one, you are more likely to get a green jelly bean than a red jelly bean because that's how basic probability works. So while yes, these machines are very important to take into account, they don't actually disprove what I'm saying because treadmill machines are in the minority, unless you're gonna look me in the face and tell me that treadmill machines have a drastically higher chance of appearing than other machines, which I don't know what to fucking tell you other than play the game. That's so obviously wrong. And high skill check? Yeah, the skill check stat is generally kind of mid compared to the other 4 stats, though I won't act like it's completely useless, especially with the addition of circle machines. Say what you want about the circle machines, they have definitely made the skill check stat more important, and I think that was a net positive to the game.
Peak game design.
What? No, seriously, what? Blot has 1 skill check star. You literally just proved my point by showing that characters with low skill check have trouble with circle machines, meaning you have more incentive to pick tunes with higher skill check. You fucking idiot! Also, you are mad at a video game because the mechanic that you're complaining about totally worked the way it was supposed to and created danger and stakes for the player, which you were unable to avoid in that specific situation. This is genuinely the fucking maturity level of my 5-year-old cousin throwing a fit when he dies in Skibidi Toilet Simulator. And again, the fact that you dealt with this and that this was so dangerous to your character proves that the skill check stat is important. Like seriously, let's use our fucking thinking caps here. Literally, put on the thinking cap trinket, it will help with this issue a lot. Or just, I don't fucking know, get good? Play a different tune? I don't fucking know.
If you could do this, it'd be a logical conclusion that you could permanently loop enemies in a corner of the map while everyone else just does machines and progresses the floor. This in turn makes everyone who isn't distracting enemies they just don't have to deal with enemies. They just sit in a corner and press space for the entire floor until the distractor dies. You can probably see what the issue is here.
That's actually not true. Great editing there, Mr. I'm trying to keep Mushroom Girl anonymous. If you actually know how Twisteds work beyond, Twisteds are the guys that chase you. Wait, hold on, why is the gameplay like a still image now? I could have sworn it was moving earlier. Twisted Blot, Dial, Roger, Razzle Dazzle, and Connie are entirely impossible to distract.
Most of these are easy to avoid with basic object permanence or do basically nothing due to being stationary.
I mean, they can be easy to avoid, but it depends on the situation. It's easy to accidentally pick up a Roger capsule or extract from a Connie machine if you aren't paying full attention. Blackouts don't help with this either. It's pretty easy to run in the R&D circle when you can't fucking see it. And many Twisteds make distracting a lot more difficult than just run in a circle. Gigi steals your items if you don't dodge out of the way. Goob Scraps slaps you if you don't dodge out of the way.
All 3 can be countered by weaving in and out of cover, and items aren't needed to distract.
Yeah, I never said they were undistractable, I just said distracting them was a bit more complicated than running mindlessly in a circle. Pay attention to the words I'm saying or shut up. Also, you're ignoring the fact that distractors, especially distractors, carry heals because they're you know, pretty prone to dying when they're constantly aggroing twisteds. Astro makes stamina deplete quicker. Astro makes stamina deplete quicker. Astro makes stamina deplete quicker. Can you play that like 5 more times? I didn't quite catch that. No, seriously, he does this so many times in the fucking video and it pisses me off.
Yes, I know I'm nitpicking, but come on. If you can't even explain the basic gameplay loop without fucking up, how am I supposed to trust you to explain in detail why this game is poorly made?
You know what? That was my bad. I made a mistake. See how easy that was to say, mister? I'm never wrong, and anyone who disagrees with me is either a snot-nosed child or an attention seeker. I said something wrong. You corrected me, and I'm acknowledging that and moving on. See how beautiful life can be when your head isn't up your ass? V literally slows you down. By this logic, you can't complain about slow tunes because you can just use speed trinkets. Hell, there's a fucking trinket for everything. You can't really complain about anything using this logic. Also, this trinket will take up a trinket space that the distractor could be using for another speed trinket, which isn't ideal for all distractors. Sprout leaves traps around the map.
Go around the traps.
What if Sprout has you trapped in a corner and the only way that you're able to get out of that corner is walking through the trap because it blocks the way that you have to go? What if you're in a blackout and can't see the trap? What if you're in an Ichor leak and accidentally mistake the trap for a puddle of Ichor? It literally took me 30 seconds to think of these possibilities. And some twisteds are literally just impossible or almost impossible to outwalk.
Exactly 2 out of 35, all of which being rare or completely avoidable.
Meaning, yes, you would have to use a good majority of your stamina to avoid being hit by them while distracting. Them being rare doesn't actually mean much because they're still a prominent part of the fucking game. They aren't that rare, especially when you start getting into floor 20 plus territory. And you may be wondering, why does rarity not matter now, yet earlier when it comes to the treadmill argument, it did matter? And to explain why I'm not being contradictory here, you have to think about the original arguments that I was making that Prototype then attempted to debunk. My original argument for the extraction speed thing was that having high extraction speed makes you able to get floors done quicker because you can do machines quicker. The fact that treadmill machines exist does not disprove that argument. It would only disprove the argument if you were more likely to get a treadmill machine than you were to get an extraction speed machine, which includes both of the other machines. However, my argument was just that characters like Pebble are a threat that make distracting more complex. Whether or not Pebble is a rare character doesn't actually disprove that. It's also very important to acknowledge the stealth system. When it comes to distracting, stealth is a very important stat as well. What makes it so important is that a Twisted will always prioritize the character in their sights with the lowest stealth.
Meaning more points you can give to speed.
I mean, yeah, but you still are going to have the issues that come with having a lower stealth unless you're a distractor. And don't be a smartass. When I say a distractor, I don't mean you're playing a character that is generally used for distracting. I mean you are actively playing the distractor role on the team you're on. So my point is, unless you are actively distracting, low stealth is an issue that is going to affect your gameplay, especially if your stealth is lower than that of the distractors. I'm not even entirely sure what you're trying to convey here. Like, yes, hypothetically, you could take stars that were meant for stealth and put them into speed. That's how the stat distribution works. There is a set number of stars that each character gets, that being 15 for regular tunes and 16 for mains, and they are put in different stat boxes depending on what they want the character to be good at. Like, yes, that is how the game works. Congrats for just now figuring that out, I guess. Don't know how it disproves what I'm saying, but it sure exists alright. So if Pebble is distracting and Brightney happens to pass by, the Twisteds will start chasing Brightney and will be incredibly difficult to lose because of the low stealth.
Come on, bro.
What if his bark is on cooldown? What if there's no air horns in the general area? There's so many situations where your solution wouldn't fucking work. Also, if we go by your logic that positioning is more important than stealth, these items wouldn't fucking matter. They wouldn't fucking do much because, you know, they change your stealth stat, not your positioning. This is actively contradictory. So no, distracting doesn't remove all the danger from the game. It simply mitigates some of it, which in my eyes isn't an issue at all.
Most of it.
Maybe on early floors, but once you start getting harder Twisteds regularly, there's still a lot of danger, especially if the distractor isn't particularly prepared, which, let's be honest, is pretty common in public runs. Then you add frequent blackouts into the picture, and there's even more danger because blackouts are difficult to maneuver in, distractor or not. Like, yeah, if you view this fucking game in the most simplistic way possible, it's gonna seem like it removes all of the danger, except that's not how the game works in practice.
Wanna play Dr. Max?
For the last time, Sam, no! Oh, with the monster. Oh, sure.
This is an example of developers leaving in cheese strats, taking it to its logical extreme.
Why is your video not black and white anymore? Jesus fuck, this editing is inconsistent. Except it's not all that extreme if you actually know how Twisteds in this goddamn game work, which you don't. Also, who cares if they leave in cheese strats?
Indefinite distracting breeds stagnation. Beginner players who join runs are no longer forced to adapt, making them completely reliant, and half of the experiences in the game are funneled towards one person while everyone else does the minimum of extracting or searching for items.
Except you are forced to adapt in a lot of cases, even with a distractor. What if the Twisteds get loose? What if the distractor dies? I started playing about a year ago during the Easter update, and during the beginning I did used to rely on distractors. And that's not necessarily a bad thing at first. There were still situations where I would have to adapt, which is why nowadays, a year later, I don't need a distractor to play because I naturally branch out. Also, I feel like if this was such a big issue where there were so many people who were so reliant on distractors, there wouldn't be enough distractors for these people to become reliant on. Because, you know, if people are reliant on distractors, they sure as hell aren't becoming the distractors. It's an entirely optional playstyle that you can just, you know, not engage with if you think it makes it too easy.
If an optional mechanic always makes the game easier, people will take it. Try and find a public run without a distractor in Dandy's world and you will give up.
But wait, that doesn't make sense if you actually know how the gaming community works. What about the expert mode in Cuphead? There's tons of videos of people beating that despite there being two much more simple game modes. What about FNAF custom nights? Why would people even try anything above the very minimum if this was true? What about the people who play Shrimpo in Dandy's World? Literally any game with a harder game mode that people regularly engage with easily disproves this point of view. Like, maybe I'm just too used to watching FNAF Max Mode masochists heavily abuse cheese strats, but I genuinely don't see why cheese strats are that bad.
Long-term cheese strats in FNAF Max modes aren't always fun either. Terrible example.
During the first hour, flip the camera back and forth every 3 seconds or so. That is, wait 3 seconds, rapidly open then close the monitor, and repeat. Until 1 AM, phantoms cannot spawn, and Springy can't enter vents. Optionally, you can use this time to change the vent cam and shut a vent of your choice, however this isn't necessary.
I never said it was fun, nor does my argument actually hinge on whether or not it's fun. I have no clue what you're on about. Also, if it wasn't fun, why are they doing it in the first place? Clearly there's something about the process of playing the game this way that is fun if they, are doing it. If it is a cheese strat, it's barely so.
Distracting actively makes the game less fun.
That is entirely subjective, and also, again, this playstyle is entirely optional.
If you're playing a Delver-like and hate monsters, why are you playing a Delver-like? That's like playing Dead by Daylight because all you care about is doing generators.
Except people who enjoy distractors don't hate the Twisteds existing on the map, they're just essentially playing on an easier game mode. If it makes the game less fun objectively, then why would so many people use it?
If an optional mechanic always makes the game easier, people will take it. Try and find a public run without a distractor in Dandy's world and you will give up.
That doesn't really make sense to me.
Did I really have to say that again?
No, you didn't, because it's objectively wrong. There's literally hundreds of videos worth of evidence that this is objectively wrong. Challenge runs, speed runs, people playing on harder game modes, Shrimpo as a character being played at all. This isn't the point you think it is.
Yet the devs leave it in because they can't be bothered to actually balance a mechanic.
Or they just think it's a good aspect of gameplay and therefore don't feel the need to change it. Also, dial exists. Was that clip, supposed to have a point? Or are you just crying like a little bitch about dying in a game still?
Problem 2. Reliance on progression.
What? This clip is literally all I could think of while watching this.
You're a loser. I don't like your random mixy humor, like you were taught in a garden ran by Reddit users.
Andy's world's entire gameplay loop relies on progression, since without it, the game would be much less addicting for the 12-year-olds.
Yeah, what else would it be reliant on?
The progression system is essentially just grinding Icar by playing the game and grinding research. Research being the worst of the two, due to it being based on which random enemies spawn, leaving a lot of unlocks up to complete RNG on how long they'll take.
I mean, I guess.
Doesn't want to admit it's true, LMAO.
You say while showing a clip of me, quite literally, admitting that it's true. Fuck off. And trust me, it annoys me too sometimes, but that's not an actual issue with the game, that's just the game being difficult. That's actually not that much Ica. What, should they all be 100 Ica or something? Oh yes, that's very fun, being able to buy all the characters within a week of playing. That's definitely how the game should work. Oh god, you have to do 30 machines, get hit by some Twisteds, and pick up some items. Oh, the horror. How will I be able to complete these mastery quests? If you have trouble getting 50% on a common Twisted, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Get good. It's almost like you're supposed to get Yada a bit later in the game when you have a decent amount of tunes or something. How dare they implement this? Let me buy Yada day 1 with no work. Oh, the fucking horror. Oh, the fucking horror.
That was all you needed to get blot. How does this motherfucker think it's okay, bro?
By locking the fuck in. Literally, this is not that hard. The hardest thing out of all of this is getting 15 tunes, and even then, it's really not that hard if you put in some effort. You yourself even said it makes the game more addicting, so like, what's the issue?
Of course the pro shipper ignores whatever's addicting and being targeted towards minors.
This is an ad hominem. Also, how was I supposed to know that you were talking about an actual serious, crippling fucking video game addiction and not just being hyperbolic? You said it in a snarky and joking tone. Also, if you actually watch the video you put on screen to distract from the video you're actually covering, you'd know that in that video I state that dark ship content shouldn't be shown to minors.
If young impressionable children see content that's romanticizing pedophilia, incest, and abuse, they might think those behaviors are okay in real life.
I agree with this statement at face value, though there's one simple solution to this. Don't let this content get into the hands of people who are too young to properly differentiate fiction from reality. Unless that content is being deliberately shown to children or posted on websites made for kids, it's not pro shippers' fault if children find that content. These works should have mature content warnings on them, and if they don't, then that's the individual creator's fault, not the fault of the pro ship community or mindset as a whole.
Also, forgive me if I am misunderstanding you. Are you seriously trying to act like Dandy's World existing is some kind of moral issue? And I'm apparently the dumb one while you're clutching your pearls because, Dandy's World can be addictive to minors. So can any fucking game. Their parents should be taking away their damn iPad if it's really that much of an issue. This has nothing to do with the devs of Dandy's World. Who is 17? Somebody I've dated? I mean, yeah, when I was 17. The characters of the shipping content I consume? No, they aren't. You have no evidence of that. Who is 17? This joke makes no sense without a 17-year-old somewhere in the joke. The joke can't even just be in the general, you like minors accusation because I don't. You have no evidence that I'm attracted to fictional or real minors because I'm not. I don't even ship minor x adult. This is just one big ad hominem with no evidence to back it up. Also, this is you changing the topic, which you criticized me for doing earlier. At least I didn't do it to try to call you a fucking pedophile, because guess what, buddy? Normal people with normal brains don't respond to disagreements over Dandy's World with pedophilia accusations. Are you insane? That it's annoying sometimes? I mean, yeah, video games are going to have aspects that are challenging. That's kind of the fucking point.
What's worse is that some characters are locked behind mastering other characters. For Blot, you have to do a whole tree of mastery, getting the mastery for Poppy, Louie, and Yada in that order.
Not really. There's not really a specific order you have to complete the quests as long as Poppy comes before Louie. I love being correct. You should try it sometime instead of crying about people being pedantic.
Before even being able to think about buying him. You have to play as objectively one of the worst characters in the entire game to unlock V.
Wait, hold on. You think Brightney is one of the worst characters in the game? But Brightney has 3 movement speed, and as you've stated, movement speed is the most important stat in the game. So, by your logic, would she not be relatively average?
Whoa, I'm actually talking! Whoa!
We are almost halfway through the video, and this is when you decide to open your mouth? This is the most inconsistent commentary video I've ever watched.
Anyways, yeah, small mistake on my part, but also, the issue with Brightney is that her ability is basically such a nothing burger that why would you even play her? It's literally just V, but you can only use it during a blackout. What's the point of playing a character that you can only play during an event that happens like 10% of the time?
Because it's helpful during blackouts for people who don't have V yet. While I do agree that her ability should get a buff of some kind to make her ability more different from V's, there are reasons to play her. Also, does this logic also apply to Eclipse? I'm genuinely asking because most people I've seen give an Eclipse very positive reviews when it comes to her playstyle. Feel free to ignore this interjection if it does, but if it doesn't, you're being a bit inconsistent, but then again, I've come to expect that from this video. And I do know that you could argue that Eclipse's ability is much more useful than Brightney's, and the fact that V has a very similar ability also makes Brightney's ability less useful, which I agree with, by the way. But if your whole argument is hinging on the fact that it's used during blackouts only, that would also equally apply to Eclipse.
This isn't even mentioning the fact that most of the characters are complete dog water to play, because balancing isn't a thing the devs tried to do. It literally took me 6 months to unlock Sprout, simply because I didn't want to do a 2-hour, 20-floor run every single day.
So, you're complaining that the core gameplay that you actively dislike is not fun to play while trying to unlock a character in said game with said unfun gameplay.
Let's do an 80% speedrun of disproving their argument. I'm too lazy to make a timer. Fuck. Playlists, Danny's World Brain Rot.
Corner.
I've been playing this game November 3rd, 2024 at the bare minimum. And like I actually enjoyed the game. Want to know when I actually started hating the game? At least about right here. About right here. Sleepy, what were you talking 10 months ago? June 2nd, 2025. Also, I don't actually hate the core loop. I just hate the fact that the game has so many aspects that literally what is the point of playing it if I have to get through all of those terrible aspects to get to the fun part?
So you've been spending all this time saying that the gameplay loop is bad just to backpedal later and say, oh no, well actually I like the gameplay loop, the issue are these other things. Then why the fuck was that not expressed in your original video? But no, it's my fault for not knowing things you didn't say in the video. My fucking bad. This is just a skill issue.
The progression system seems to take priority instead of the gameplay loop.
You need to do the gameplay loop to progress. What are you talking about?
In-run and meta progression are two different things, numbnuts.
Okay, then specify which one you're talking about in the actual video, numbnuts. You can't be shit at explaining yourself and then be surprised when people misunderstand the point you're making. That's your fault. I think the issue is that you don't like the gameplay loop and are therefore trying to act like it's objectively bad when it isn't. It's just not your kind of game.
What? I don't understand. I have spent a year of my life working on a game based off of Dandy's World. You cannot say this.
That also isn't entirely based around meta progression and actually has a fun core loop.
Wait, so the core loop in Dandy's World is bad again? Also, if the core loop is different in your game than it is in Dandy's World, this doesn't fucking matter because my point was about the gameplay loop.
Me when I don't read the room.
Being needlessly complex in order to keep players always trying to get the next set of unlocks. What's even worse is when you run out of things to grind for, you just can't do anything. The gameplay is entirely designed around grinding, and you just have to wait for the next update to be able to like actually have any sort of goal.
When you unlock all the things, there's no more things left to do. I mean, yeah, that's how a lot of games work.
I wonder.
You're implying the gameplay loop isn't replayable, yet when I dare assume this means you don't like the gameplay loop, you get mad at me. Fuck my life, dude.
Basically, every game uses progression to motivate the player. What the fuck are you on about? I need to go meditate or something.
This entire segment is just this dumbass not being able to tell the difference between meta and non-meta progression.
This is just you being mad about things you didn't properly elaborate on in your video. That's a you problem.
I've seen a lot of people complain that Dandy's World needs more variety, and I honestly couldn't agree less. There are 40 different tunes, but it still doesn't feel like enough variety simply because the tunes lack any sort of depth. Let's take a look at 3 tunes from the Distractor class. Pebble, Goob, and Gordy. How do these characters play differently? Gordy can press F sometimes to give people a boost and potentially save them. Pebble can press F to save people by aggroing Twisteds, and Goob can press F to grab people. How are these tunes played outside of this? They could all run around in a circle distracting, or they could sit still and extract. That's basically 2 things each that just barely differentiate them. In practice, however, Goob and Gordy both don't even use their abilities when distracting, which basically just makes it 1.5 differences per character.
You know what? I'll give you some more fucking differences. Why did you cut out the first sentence of my interjection? Here was the original clip for reference. What's different about these characters other than the things that are different about these characters? You know what? I'll give you some more fucking differences. Your choice to cut out this very specific clip makes me feel like you're trying to hide the fact that it easily points out that your argument is heavily flawed. Classy. If we're just referring to distractor-related differences,
Gordy has 1 stealth, meaning he's better at keeping Twisted aggro on him than Pebble.
Proceeds to only list off differences in stats.
you were talking about differences in playstyle, not differences in abilities. Stats influence playstyle, you fucking idiot. You're adding on qualifiers that weren't in your original video.
3 stealth and Goob's 2 stealth.
He also has 1 stamina, which balances out his really low stealth when distracted.
You spend 0 stamina when you're at high speeds.
You do know that distractors use stamina, right? This entire fucking video has been preaching that distractors don't use stamina, but they literally do. Being able to technically outwalk a Twisted doesn't mean the stamina isn't used to help keep ahead.
Pebble also has higher speed than both Goob and Gordy. Now, if we include other differences, Pebble is a horrible extractor. Gordy is an amazing extractor, and Goob is in between them, though he's also not the greatest. Gordy and Pebble also only have 2 hearts.
On that note, calling Gordy and Goob distractors is a bit misleading since Goob can also play a decent role as support, and Gordy is an all-rounder.
Anyone with more than 3 speed can distract, bro.
Yeah. And I never said or even implied otherwise. I was literally just saying that Gordy and Goob can also play other roles. He can fit any role.
All-rounder, as in he has broken stats and is objectively one of the best characters. An all-rounder is supposed to just be decent at everything, but at the cost of not being better than specialists at their thing. Gordy is amazing at everything. You know, jack of all trades, master of none.
You're adding random qualifiers again. An all-rounder is defined as one having many skills or uses. That's it. Also, Gordy does have weaknesses. The basic rules of stat distribution makes sure of that. He has low health, stamina, and stealth, you fucking dumbass. You can't be this genuinely stupid.
This is what I'm talking about. 1 to 2 abilities per character doesn't really work most of the time, and just leads to them feeling like Dead by Daylight perks more than anything. Really, the stats actually determine more about the character's playstyle than their abilities, which is just fucking bogus.
Why? Why do abilities have to be more important than stats?
Like, the whole thing about abilities is that they're supposed to be the meat and potatoes of what make the characters stand out from everybody else. They're also something that helps define what playstyle and role they have.
I mean, does that always necessarily have to be true? I personally don't see the issue with abilities sometimes taking a backseat to stat distribution. If you disagree, then that's just kind of a you thing, that's your gaming preference. That doesn't make it an objective flaw necessarily.
Why can't we all get along, Samith?
Because most of us are a little buddy.
I'll compare another 3 classes from the defense class, which I think is most analogous to Distractor class, ignoring how badly designed it is. The Heavy has a machine gun as his main weapon, which is the most powerful mid-range primary weapon in the entire game, as well as a shotgun used to finish people off or defend himself when he can't use the minigun, with his main weakness being slow speed and rev time, giving him a distinct playstyle as a slow tank that could hold his ground and block enemy forces.
How is that much different from Gordy, for example?
Alright, let's point out every mistake they make here.
Yes, that is quite literally what this this entire video is supposed to be about. He has 2 abilities, and he has strengths and weaknesses. His strengths are skill check, movement speed, and extraction speed, and his weaknesses are stealth, stamina, and health.
Both abilities can't be strategized around.
Okay, this is, again, you adding on extra qualifiers that weren't in the original video. This is just you moving the goalpost.
Sugar Rush triggers automatically, so there's no timing or skill involved. And the one random stat boost ability doesn't let you pick what stat to boost. Like, how are you supposed to strategically use an ability that is just completely random?
By boosting people who might want a stat boost and hoping RNGesus is on your side. The unpredictability is kind of the point. You can still use it at specific times, for specific people, for specific uses. It won't always be entirely effective, but you can strategize around it.
What?
Now, low stealth can be a strength if you're distracting, but since Gordy's an all-rounder, I'll consider it a weakness.
He's not an all-rounder. He's just OP.
He is an all-rounder. You're just fucking stupid. There's also another aspect about the diversity of playstyle that you never bring up in this video. Trinkets.
Trinkets don't add anything to your playstyle?
V-Mote can be used strategically to quickly get rid of machines in difficult spots or machines that you don't want to do. A Slow Tune, for example, could use it to get rid of a treadmill so they don't have to do it. Wrench is also similar. Feather Duster and Bone, despite being debuffed, are still great distractor trinkets for Bassie and create a new method of distracting, that being repeatedly dropping and picking up items. Trinkets that boost skill check can change the playstyles of lower skill check tunes, encouraging them to do more machines when they otherwise would not have. So yeah, basically, you're stupid.
Most of them are just fucking stat boosts. You know, stats. The thing that doesn't really contribute to a playstyle.
You're a fucking idiot if you think stats don't contribute to playstyle. Speed and stealth is what makes a distractor after all, not their ability. And argue at the wall all you want, but distracting is a playstyle. Even if it's not specific enough for you, you have to acknowledge that these classes are in fact playstyles. They're a style of playing the video game. Ugh. Hell, mister, this game is too easy. You can literally just put on a trinket that makes your life 10 times harder just for shits and giggles. Have fun doing that.
Challenge characters and trinkets are redundant in any run because they make the game actively less fun.
If they're so not fun, why do people play them? Yeah, I don't know about you, Mr. Buzzkill, but my attempts at getting hissy fit were some of the funnest runs I've done in a while. You're allowed to disagree with that, but you're making a concrete and objective statement about something that is entirely subjective. And of course we have to go back to the point of, you know, every hard mode in every game ever? What makes this any different from that?
Why would you play a harder version of the game that's already not fun?
Come closer. Psst. Turn up your volume all the way. Because they think Dandy's World is fun, and they think the challenge is fun. You really like to speak like your personal opinion is the law of the land, huh? Also, again, I thought you liked Dandy's World. Now you don't? Again?
Notice the word playstyle being used. Dandy's World doesn't give characters distinct playstyles because the system with mains and all that shit simply doesn't have the flexibility to allow any to shine through.
Yes, it does. Louis requires you to trade in health for speed.
And nothing else.
Oh my fucking god, you're moving the goalpost again! How many fucking specifics do you need on each character to be satisfied? You said that the characters do not have distinctive playstyles. I gave you an example of characters that have distinct playstyles, and you're mad because it's not enough for you, I guess. Blot gives birth to a baby to distract the Twisted from him.
Distracting invalidates Blot as a whole, and according to you, it's a good mechanic, so...
How? How does distracting invalidate Blot? You're just saying shit without elaboration. Sprout requires you to hoard tapes to heal players.
I agree. The healing characters are like the only characters with an actual like playstyle.
Look in the mirror and you'll see that I'm clearer.
This guy's attempt at humor makes me want to kill myself. Connie and Bobette's abilities can be used very strategically to get away from Twisted's, and considering Connie has 1-star speed, it's incredibly useful.
Cloaking isn't depth. The only decision you have to do is whether you need to use your ability and not waste the cooldown or not, which mind you is the bare minimum.
Even if it was the bare minimum, that still means I'm right. I never said they go above and beyond, I just said there are distinctive playstyles in some characters. That's it. You're losing the plot here.
Heck, the character with the most death is Cosmo, who is literally just a healer who uses their health to heal. Oh my lord! We also should compare how characters can synergize in each game. In Dandy's world, there's like 3 character-specific synergies of Sprout/Cosmo, Ginger/Cosmo, and Coco/Bassie. That last one not even being a good synergy since Bassie can just carry better items than bonbons.
Well, yeah, but item spawn is RNG. Coco's bonbons are not RNG.
Just play another Coco if you want more bonbons.
Yes, that is in fact another thing you could do. I don't see how this proves or disproves anything. And considering bonbons boost both speed and extraction speed a good bit, they're pretty damn good, especially when you get unlucky item spawns.
Or, hear me out, carry heals instead.
Heals are RNG! There is no guarantee that you'll get enough heals to hoard. Did you listen to literally anything I said?
By far, the most egregious example is what the devs have done to solo running. They have actively fucked over solo runs since the game started, to the point where the game is 500 times more difficult without a second player distracting.
Wait, the teamwork game isn't built for solo runs?
So you don't care that solo runs are miserable just because it's not the focus of the game?
Yes, pretty much. If you choose to solo run, good for you, but that's not the point of the game, so complaining that it's too hard is stupid. No fucking way. My mind is truly blown.
You can make both experiences enjoyable, moron. Just look at Repo, a friend slop game.
First of all, if you say anything ending with slop again, I'm going to hurt someone. Second of all, how can you make both experiences enjoyable? I'm not asking that rhetorically. Literally explain to me what changes could be made to make solo runs more enjoyable without ruining the difficulty of public runs. You literally never explained that in your original video, nor are you doing so in this video. Also, just because other games do something doesn't mean Dandy's World has to. That's not how this works. It's just not your kind of game. It's just not your kind of game.
It's just not your kind of game. You basically just admitted most of the meat of Dandy's World is the social element, not the gameplay.
No, I didn't. You are literally just making shit up. Just because a game works better with social aspects doesn't mean that the gameplay isn't well made. Multiplayer games and single-player games are usually designed differently because they have different playstyles in mind. And that doesn't mean there is no overlap, because like you said, Repo, I guess, is a game that has both multiplayer and single-player aspects that are well made in your opinion, and I don't know anything about Repo, but if we grant you that that's true, that doesn't mean that every single game has to be like that. It's great that that game's like that, and that is what that game wanted to achieve, but that doesn't have to be the same for every game.
They made it even worse recently by increasing the twisted cap to 8, just because distractors were saying the game was boring and too easy.
Can we see a source for this? No? Just claiming that's the reason why they chose to do that without anything to back it up?
This was a common rumor at the time, and I have no definitive evidence of this. However, the distractor community's backlash to Pebble's buff was so bad they had to nerf them to be easier than before. So my assumption was never that far off from whatever the truth may be.
Sorry guys, I made an unsubstantiated claim. Anyway, here's another unsubstantiated claim to prove my unsubstantiated claim. Fuck off! You show no evidence that Distracto's complaints were the reason why Pebble was nerfed. You just claim that without evidence. Sure, that screenshot says that it was specifically made to be easier to kite, but that doesn't specifically mean that it was because of complaints from Distractors. You see how those things are different, right? Also, you were just complaining about the game being too easy with distracting, but now you're mad that it's being made harder? Make up your damn mind. I'm pretty sure if specific distractors thought that the game was too easy, they would just not distract.
All this does is make the game harder for people who specifically don't want to rely on distractors.
Yeah, no shit. If you are playing the game in a way that is more difficult, updates that make the game more difficult are going to affect people who do not play runs with distractors more. Obviously. So you complain that distracting is too easy, yet you simultaneously complain that the game is harder without distractors.
You aren't going to be having a distractor anyway in solo, and the solo experience is already miserable. Also, this contradicts one of your earlier statements. It's an entirely optional playstyle that you can just, not engage with if you think it makes it too easy.
No, it doesn't. Seriously, where the fuck is the contradiction here? Are you gonna actually elaborate, or are you just gonna act like it's self-explanatory when it very fucking obviously isn't, because there's no contradiction here? In fact, both of those clips are saying the exact same thing. They're saying that distracting is an optional playstyle that somebody can choose to engage with. That's it. There's no fucking contradiction. You're just stupid.
They also made it so that low-speed, high-distraction characters are even worse at solo runs because they made machines that take longer if your speed is low.
I want more complex playstyles. I want a more interesting gameplay loop.
And then you get that, and now you're crying about it being too hard. Oh my fucking god.
This doesn't make them more complex. All this does is make runs more for extractors by taking the one thing they had going over speed, doing machines faster.
If it bothers you that fucking much, play an all-rounder like Yada or Gordy. If it bothers you that much that you have to spend an extra 20 or so seconds doing a treadmill machine, play a character with high speed. I don't know what else to fucking tell you. Say what you want about the treadmill machines, but they are actually a very good addition to the gameplay. They make it so extraction speed and skill check aren't the only important stats when extracting.
Is this really something that was needed? Speed, as mentioned previously, is already the most broken stat. Why does it need more? The stamina rush mechanic is decent though, I stole it for OCC.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was needed, as if the game would be significantly worse without it, but my point of view on it is that it makes it so extractors with high speed have a use for that speed. It can also make the game just a bit more challenging for pure extractors. And I know that you're really weird about whether or not you want the game to be relatively challenging or relatively easy, because you just kind of pick whichever one is more convenient to call the game bad and flip-flop depending on, again, which one makes the game look worse, but you kind of gotta pick one at some point. Like, of course there's nuance to it, a game shouldn't be overly hard, nor should it be overly easy, but I feel like you just arbitrarily complain based on what's gonna make the game look worse.
Problem 5. Relax and criticism.
Let's face it, once your game becomes popular enough, you're basically immune from all criticism. Just look at Minecraft. Any form of criticism thrown their way falls on deaf ears, yet people still play because, actually, that's mostly because of mods and being able to roll back to earlier versions, but my point still stands.
Correction. This is more because Minecraft is forced to play it safe instead of changing any old mechanics. It's the most popular game in the world and it has to stay the same to still be popular.
Or maybe, again, hear me out here, they disagree with you and think Minecraft is a good game with good updates. I play Minecraft and I don't use mods, nor do I play older versions.
So there are actually two Minecrafts. Minecraft the art form, and Minecraft the game. I find it highly unlikely you like Minecraft as a game.
I don't know what else to fucking tell you other than I do. I like the game, and I play the game. Like, I don't know why you're trying to tell me how I feel about Minecraft. I don't see why someone enjoying the most popular game on the planet is some sort of shocking, unlikely scenario. It wouldn't be able to keep that title if people didn't play it. Wait, are you mansplaining Minecraft to me? I just fucking realized this. This was not in the script. I just realized while editing and recording the lines for this part, he is literally going, "No, sweetie, you don't like Minecraft the game. You like Minecraft the art form." What the fuck? Oh my god. We should ban men from being commentators, I think, forever.
I think it all goes back to that time we were... No flashback? Okay. Well, it's been ever since junior high.
They're on the same level as any gacha game you can find on the Play Store, with very similar practices, like locking essential parts of the game. Heck, literally, Quell is a fan of Cookie Run. You can't be a good game developer and be a fan of Cookie Run at the same time.
That's not actually what that screenshot says. It just says she's playing it. What if she played it and ended up hating it? Like, come on, you aren't even trying here. Also, this is an ad hominem and doesn't fucking matter. It's funny because this also doesn't prove that she's a fan of Cookie Run. If anything, I'd assume she's speaking negatively of Cookie Run. You suck at this. Try again.
Characters should also each have a distinct playstyle so people have a reason to play them outside of just being the first character you get. Look at Poppy and Boxen, nobody fucking plays them.
But wait, doesn't the mastery requirements that you complained about earlier help that issue?
No.
Are you gonna explain why? Of fucking course you aren't. People definitely wouldn't be playing Brightney if it weren't for V, after all. Requiring partial or complete mastery for tunes to buy other tunes makes it so you have to play more diversely to get the characters you want.
Locking other characters behind other characters you're forced to play definitely encourages you to choose and play the characters you want, genius.
Well, yeah, it kind of does. Sure, if you could just play any character you wanted at any time, that would be better at doing that. However, the point isn't just supposed to be picking and choosing the character you want, it's supposed to be working towards those characters. And that includes playing other characters that you would not normally play otherwise to get the characters you want. You just have to work harder for those characters. You can still pick the characters you want. Hell, unless your dream is to play Poppy for the rest of your life, you will have to play characters you don't want to play to get characters you do want to play anyway. Part of the fun of Dandy's World is trying to work with the character you're playing. And if the ability to choose right off the bat the characters you want to play was prioritized, you wouldn't have to overcome the challenges of playing less good characters.
So that was dumb.
Ending the video by, again, calling me a pedophile. Classy. I have a lot of shit to say when it comes to final thoughts. First of all, The inconsistency of the editing pisses me off, and it makes it so fucking confusing. First of all, this commentary can't even fucking decide whether or not it wants to be a text commentary or a spoken commentary. And in the whole ass sections, because these aren't just one-off interjections, these are full sections that are spoken despite the fact that it's supposed to be a text commentary. They can't even decide what background they're gonna use. The background is different in both of them. And it's so fucking weird and confusing. And something that bothers me about both his original video and this video is that he tries to paint anyone who disagrees with him on his opinion on a fucking video game as either a drooling child who doesn't know what they're talking about and just mindlessly enjoys it, or a fucking pedophile. I know, crazy jump, but, you know. And I know a lot of people are going to brush off the, she's 17 Scott thing as a joke, and it is a joke. But jokes have meanings a lot of the time. Jokes have things that they are meant to convey, even if it's using hyperbole, even if it's in a way that's meant to be playful, etc., right? A lot of jokes, not all jokes, but a lot of them, including this one, have some kind of meaning that is meant to be taken somewhat seriously. The whole joke of the She's 17 Scott meme is that Scott Pilgrim dated a 17-year-old. So unless you can say anything similar about me, right? Anything even slightly similar, right? Anything adjacent. It doesn't even have to be specifically me dating a 17-year-old. You are just falsely calling me a pedophile. You are just calling me a pedophile with no evidence. I assume the punchline was supposed to be that I enjoy content of a sexual nature involving fictional minors, or that I ship fictional minors with the fictional adults, or something of that nature. However, I don't. There's no evidence of that. There's no proof of that, because it doesn't exist, because I've never done it. And again, it just sounds like you're falsely accusing me of being a pedophile. And when people have seriously called me a pedophile over the pro-shipping drama, you can understand why it is incredibly poor taste to make this joke, right? You can understand that, right? You're not that fucking stupid. And if you're going to make a joke that implies me to be a pedophile, at least make it funny. Because this isn't funny. Because unless I've actually, in some way, engaged in any kind of misconduct involving minors, it's not funny. There's no punchline to make it funny. So not only is this guy levying very serious accusations at me, he's also not funny. And honestly, I think that's worse. And I want you to remember that this is all over him being butthurt about me disagreeing with his opinion on video games. So maybe, just maybe, Prototype, you should stick to just making shitty videos on video games if you really can't help that itch within your soul to call people you don't like pedophiles. I'll see you in the next video, have a great day, and goodbye.